I have analyzed the lives of the people who have gone abroad. I have had clients who have gone abroad. I have relatives who have gone abroad. I've had stories of people who have gone abroad. I have neighbors who have gone abroad, and I can comfortably do a video proposing that if you ever get a chance to go abroad, you should go abroad. And one of the main reasons is economics. Your life improves economically speaking. It's the money that you make there abroad. And I'm going to categorize going abroad into 3. So going to Europe, to countries like Poland, Germany. The other category is you going to a country like the USA. And the other category is you going to an Asian country. So let's say Dubai, Qatar. Anyone who has managed to go abroad to some of these countries that I've mentioned, it's because they're quite popular here in Kenya. They've had their lives improve money-wise. And that's the main reason why we go abroad. Even think about it. The average salary of a watchman, so we're talking about unskilled labor here. A watchman here in Kenya makes around 8,000 to 10,000 shillings per month. Yes, that is not even enough to feed you. Most of them are hungry when they are on duty. They can't even afford to pay rent. Imagine $80, which is even $70 for a whole month. And even for a cleaner, it's between 8,000 to 15,000 shillings to even up to 25,000 shillings. But again, it's the same range, 10,000, 15,000. You can imagine that for a month. And you have a family. You are a man. You have a wife. You have kids. When you compare doing such work here in Kenya to doing it in the UAE or in Dubai or even in Germany, you're going to make tenfold that. Yes, you can talk about the exchange rate, that yes, you're paying more rent, but you know what I mean. At least even if the cost of living there is more, you can manage to save something. You can manage to eat. You can manage to dress. Well, for us here in Africa, how are you going to save your 15,000 Kenyan shillings? How are you going to save your 8,000 Kenyan shillings when you can barely feed yourself? You can barely feed your family. So that is in terms of unskilled labor. In terms of skilled labor, I mean, that one is the best. I remember I had a lecturer who got a chance to go to the US, to be specific, Washington. That's how they say, Washington, DC. The climate is nice. How that was her last semester there and the money was good. She told us the money was good there and that her family were also going to benefit from that. I also know of some guys who used to be in tech who got a chance to go and work in Germany doing tech, you know, the tech guys, and they're paid a lot of money. Like they paid like 4 times what they make here, 5 times what they make here. So going abroad to work to make money, you're going to benefit regardless of it being a skilled type of job or being an unskilled type of job. You're still going to save something. In as much as life is hard, at least you can save something, at least you can eat. I have seen people build mansions because they've managed to save their money while they are abroad. Whereas they would never ever get a chance to ever build a mansion or buy a plot of land had they stayed here in Kenya. I've seen people set up businesses, big businesses, importing goods from where they are, and it's become a business. Their lives have changed. So economic wise, we can't argue. We can't argue that you're not making money. There you make money. In fact, somebody who lives in the US was telling me that they had leaves stacked up during, I think it's autumn, or is it autumn or during summer? I don't know about the seasons there, but they had like leaves in their backyard. They had somebody to come and do the work for them. That person was charging them $90 per hour. That is like 10K per hour. He actually felt like it was too much. There's also another instance where they hired somebody to come and help them clean up their house, and the person was charging them $130 per hour, which is a lot. There was this story that I saw on TikTok. It's about a lady who set up a successful cleaning company in the US. She's a Kenyan and she's made millions. Why? Because unskilled labor here in Africa is quite cheap. That's what I would say. It's very cheap. Even for you to get a nanny to do the cleaning, to do the housework, to do everything, it's cheap. That's what I would say. We have cheap labor here. But there, most of the people are professionals. They have blue collar, or rather, they have white collar jobs. Yes, they're blue collar jobs, but if you ever get yourself into a blue collar job, you make a lot of money. To be specific, that was the US. So, okay, that might be different from countries like Dubai, but still, you're still going to make a lot more. There are opportunities. I even had someone tell me that somebody who lives in Canada, that there was that time where Canadians were complaining that they can't get jobs. She was telling me that, yes, there was that issue of people getting jobs, but still, even if you go there, some way, somehow, you're still going to get a job. And like for us here in Africa, we are skilled. Some of us, we have degrees, but we can't get jobs. Like abroad, you can even get 2 jobs or 3 jobs as long as you are able and willing to work. But here in Kenya, getting 2 jobs and 3 jobs, yet you're able and willing to work, is something that is difficult. It's possible, but it's not a developed system where like there's a lot of work, a lot of opportunity to keep people busy. There's not much activities. Probably we are not creative enough, or we don't have the skills enough. Now that's another discussion for another day. But in terms of opportunities, getting a job, it's easier abroad. It's easier abroad. That's what I would say. That's why it's a good place to go, because you're going to make money. I mean, that's why we are working, to make money. The other one is in terms of better education, better healthcare systems. Again, it depends where you're going. For example, in Europe, somebody was telling me that in Europe, the doctor that gets to see you, like your physician, can be the same doctor that gets to treat the president. Yes, the healthcare system is top notch. The medicines are good. You accessing good healthcare. Okay, I'm talking about, let's say that you have a terminal illness. It's not going to be an issue. Whereas for us here in Africa, we have to struggle. Even getting medicines in public hospitals is an issue. So that's why we get to see people going abroad so that they can have access to medical treatment. Medical treatment that can be done here, it's just that there it's top notch, it's quality. I mean, why would you not want to go abroad and live abroad, or live in a country that values the healthcare system? Of course, taxes are high, because someone was telling me like around 40% of their paycheck is gone, or 60% of their paycheck is gone. But in as much as there are those deductions, like it's gone, you can see the actual developments. You can see the roads. You can see the schools. At that point of education, there's better education there. Someone was telling me, somebody who lives in Germany, they were telling me that education is free, even up to the tertiary level. From primary school, I don't know if they have primary school, from junior school to secondary school, to you even pursuing a bachelor's, a PhD, a master's, it's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. Now compare that to us here in Kenya, compare that to us here in Africa, where education is expensive. And even the basic education that we get is not good enough. I don't know if you get it. It's not the type of education that is equipping us with the skills and the knowledge that we need today. So why would you not want to go abroad, get citizenship, and let your children have access to better education? Why not? That is one of the reasons why you find that somebody is seeking a scholarship to go abroad, and once they have finished their masters, once they finish their bachelors, it's easier for them to get absorbed to the economy, because whatever they're being taught is relevant to the skills that are needed in the economy. So you won't find yourself, though there are cases like that, you won't find yourself being so educated and not getting a job. You're easily absorbed into the job market. And like for us here in Kenya, that's why like we are seeking scholarships. That's why we want to go abroad. There's this story of a lecturer that I had. I remember she used to tell us that when she finished her bachelor's here in Kenya, immediately she got a chance to go study in Germany, to do a master's in Germany. Immediately she finished her master's, when she came back to Kenya, she became a lecturer. That was in the early 2000s, and how it was easier for her to get a job here in Kenya and even get a job abroad, because she also had a job abroad. It's just that she wanted to come back and it was easier back then. For example, let's say that you got a master's from Cambridge, and let's say that you got a master's from, let's say, the University of Nairobi, and both of you are competing in the job market. If you're to go to an organization, you're going to find out that they're going to prefer the person who has had their master's in Cambridge than here in Nairobi. Though things are starting to change, like now we are getting to have more focus on the skills, but still there's that bias, such that if you study abroad, you are viewed as somebody who is better. I don't know if that's true, but that's just the reality. We want to go abroad to have better education and to have access to better opportunities. The other reason that I can think of that is based on what I have seen is that going abroad broadens your mind. It allows you to think differently. You look at the problems that are abroad and how they've been solved in terms of the businesses that have been set up. Let's say, for example, the tech businesses that have been set up, and you've had the opportunity to work abroad in a tech setup. When you come back to Kenya, when you come back to Africa, you are able to view things differently. You're able to come up with solutions differently based on the experiences that you've had abroad. I'll give an example of a story that I saw someone, I think I saw it online, I can't remember when, but the guy was talking about how when he went abroad, he was introduced to the dropshipping business, which wasn't a thing then here in Kenya. So when he came back, he set up a dropshipping business and he made lots and lots of money. So when you go abroad, you get exposed to different ideas, to different ways of solving problems. And when you come back, you think differently. You have that edge of just thinking differently because you've networked with people of different cultures, different minds, and not just limited to your locality here in Kenya. So going abroad is a good thing, even in terms of the businesses, like I say, the businesses that have been set up. And even when you look at the tech businesses that have been set up here in Kenya, in one way or the other, you're going to find out that somebody went abroad, not all the time, but them getting a chance to go abroad and see how startups work and see how businesses work and see how funding works. When they come back to Kenya, they try to sort of like model that type of thinking, that type of solving a problem. Those reasons are so good, so compelling, such that some of us here in Kenya, we've lost money, and not just here in Kenya, and also in Africa and in other African countries, we have been scammed money. We've lost money to scammers who have promised us jobs abroad. We've lost money. We are so desperate to go there because we know our lives are going to improve, that you're willing to give that person 200K, 400K to secure a job for us in Poland, to secure a job for us in Canada. Going abroad is so good, such that we are willing to take the risk of losing our lives to go and enjoy our lives there. I'll give an example of a story that I saw. I think it was in France 24. They were covering a story of a guy who has been deported severally from Italy to Africa. He goes there illegally. That guy was talking about how he would do it again. He would risk his life in a dinghy, those boats that are not stable, day and night, to go to the promised land. Because in the promised land, there is food, there is shelter. So the question is, what do we need to do as the African continent, as developing countries, to ensure that we have opportunities, the same opportunities that are there abroad? The answer to that is another discussion. I'd love to know your thoughts on the comments. Would you go abroad if you ever get a chance to go there?